Welcome back to the Dr. Amber Show. My name is Dr. Amber, clinical psychologist, author of A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation, and I'm glad you're here. So let's talk about this a little bit. I've got a way that I want to help you better understand that feeling of someone pushing your buttons, especially if it's your child, and then also how to better understand how to make more space between the thing that happened and then your reaction. Because the question that I get all the time from parents is, how do I stop being so triggered by my child? Or how do I have enough time to do something different instead of immediately yell or immediately overreact? How do I make more space in between the behavior or whatever has happened and then how I react? So today, by the end of this, you are going to know exactly how to do that. I promise. I promise. Do you trust me? I hope you do, because look, you're going to get a lot out of this today. Because look, I got some props. I got things here. We're going to really go in. Oh, this brings me back to my teaching days, y'all. I used to do a little bit of teaching, but it's been a while. It's been a while. I've been in practice, seeing people doing therapy, evaluation, speaking, but I haven't taught in a while. So let's pretend we're in the classroom. All right. So let's start here. So this is typically where people begin. And again, I've got some things for you here I want to show you. So typically, the very first thing that parents notice is one, ooh, can you see this? Behavior. Something has happened. So a behavior has occurred. And if you can't see this, I'll keep reading it to you. There's something happened. So it's usually your child's behavior or something that has occurred, right? They're very aware of that. Very aware of this. And then the other thing that they typically have access to that they're often not super happy about is this. Their reaction. So basically, something happened, the child's behavior, and then how the parent reacts to it, right? So let's just stick with this for a while. All right, so let's kind of go through some scenarios so you can kind of get a sense of behavior, reaction. So let's say you're at the store, whatever store you like to go to, and you're with your child, and depending on the age of your child either has a tantrum because you told them we're not buying nothing and they still insist on getting something, and now they falling out. We've had that experience, right? Or maybe your child's a little bit older. You told them we're not getting nothing. They still want something, but instead of falling out, now they got an attitude. And now they're just really mean and upset and got the attitude and the steaminess, all of that in the store, right? So we have the behavior, the thing that has happened with your child, and then how you react to it. So your child does something and you react. And so typically, if there's not enough space between the behavior and the reaction is not great. And so you might yell, you might scream, you might get really upset and say something you don't mean. You might say, well, you know what, let's just go and leave, and you didn't even get all your things. Either way, you likely had a reaction that you're not happy about, that you're not pleased about, that you wish you could go back and change. Okay, let's walk through another example. Maybe you ask your child to do something and they're ignoring you. They're not doing it quick enough. You say, I need you to pick up those toys. They say no, or they ignore you, or they talk back. Then you react. And again, if there's not enough space between this behavior and the reaction, this reaction is likely something that you don't like. Okay? Or this one, Your child says something to you that you don't like. Mommy, I hate you. You stupid. I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine things that the kids would say. I didn't like this meal. Anyways, I don't know. Just pretend. Pretend it's your child, and whatever the child has said, something that you didn't like, your reaction. Again, if there's not enough space between what happened and how you react to it, it's likely going to be something that you don't like. So you might be like, well, I hate you too. I hope you don't say that, but hey, sometimes it happens. Or you might say, well, just go to bed. Or, well, you know what? Pack your bags. I don't know. But it's likely that there's something that you have said or done that you did not like because you were triggered by this. So you probably have noticed, I keep saying, if there's not enough space between the behavior and the reaction, this reaction is not going to be great. So let's start making more space. And in order to make more space, we've got to spread these out. And, I wish I had another hand because we're going to add some more things. Okay. We're going to start adding things. So there's more things that you need to be doing after the behavior to try to change your reaction. So let's talk about it. So we got our behavior, we got our reaction. Let's talk about what this one is going to be. What do you think I'm going to write? If you can see that. I don't know how well y'all can see this. It says meaning. Meaning. This is one of the first things that I need you to be aware of after something happens. And when I say meaning, what I mean is after something happens with your child, what is it that your brain is wanting you to believe about the situation, right? So let's go back up to some of our examples. So for instance, my child, we're at the store and now they're causing a scene. They're yelling, they're upset, they being whatever in the store. My brain is wanting me to believe, probably in that moment, they don't respect me. I feel like I've lost control. They don't care about what I'm saying. There's something that your brain is telling you about that moment that helps to feed into your reaction. And depending on how much time you spend with this process helps to dictate where you end up when you get to this part, right? Because as you can imagine, however that story goes in your head of what's happening, depending on how negative it is or positive or optimistic it is, your reaction will likely be very different. Let's go to this next example of, remember, your child ignoring your request. You ask them to do something and for whatever reason they don't do it. Maybe they're just blatantly ignoring you, or maybe they actually didn't hear you, or maybe they got an attitude about it. What is your brain usually telling you about what that means? Is your brain telling you, well, my child doesn't respect me? Or is your brain telling you, girl, you have lost all control. You don't know what you're doing. Or is your brain telling you, yeah, remember that thing that your mom said about you and how you parent? It's right. What is your brain saying about these experiences that you're having? Remember that other one, my child says they hate me. So when that happened, what did your brain want you to believe about it? What story was coming up for you in your brain about this situation? Was your brain saying they hate you because you suck? Was your brain telling you, yeah, because you're not a great mom, you're not a great parent, so of course they hate you? Or was your brain saying, how dare you? All this I've done for you, how dare you? You could see how the different stories that come up could create so many different scenarios for then how this reaction pops up, right? So you're already starting to see how it's not just this, but hey, now we have this sense of, okay, I understand that my brain is wanting me to believe something about this. And the reassuring thing is we can't always control this. I know we want to believe that we can. We can't always control the behavior. In the moment, we cannot always control how we react. But the thing that helps us to better control how we react to things is by better understanding the meaning that is being made. Okay? So you see how we're already starting to have some space. We're making space, and that's great. So there's one more, right? I'm going to tell you what that is. What do you think I'm going to write? You're very familiar with this one, by the way. Typically after the fact, though, probably. All right. Emotions taking me over. It's just emotions. It's just emotions. So I'm going to tell you where this falls in the sequence of things, okay? So remember, we have the behavior, the thing that happened. Now you know that when you have the behavior, your brain immediately starts to tell you a story about what's happening and why. When our brain does that, your feelings start to tap in. Because depending on what your brain is saying, your feelings are going to respond differently. So that's where emotions come. So for instance, if my brain is telling me, girl, you the best mom in the world, my feelings are going to be great. But if my brain is telling me they hate you because you suck, these feelings are not going to be great. And as you can see, depending on how I feel, my reaction is going to be very, very different. Was that a mind blow for you? Depending on how I feel, my reaction is going to be very, very different. But my feelings are based on what my brain is trying to make me believe about the situation that I'm in. You see how now we make more space? It's no longer just this and this. It's this, and then it is this, and then it is this, and that's how we get here. By the way, all of this is expanded a lot more in my book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation. I talk about the process of more deeply understanding your emotions and how they dictate how you respond or react in any given scenario with your child as a parent. So if you like this and you want more of this, I highly recommend you reading my book because I think it'll really give you everything you need to make sure that you turn all this shit around for sure. So let's go back to our scenarios. Okay, so remember that first one we talked about, you're at the store with your child. They asking for stuff. You already told them you're not buying nothing. And now they falling out on the floor and or they're a teenager and they got an attitude and they saying stuff under their breath and you just feeling some types of way. Your brain is making you believe that, well, I've lost all control. People are looking at me in this store and now they're judging me. My child don't respect me because I already told them what it is. Now they saying stuff behind my back and I don't like that either. What do you think all the feelings you're having are based on everything your brain is telling you? Well, I imagine the feelings are probably frustration, irritation, overwhelm, shame, resentment, guilt, anger. The list goes on and on and on. And you know, when you feel emotions like that, it is very hard to respond in an adequate way. That's why we start reacting. So, what if you did this? That behavior happened. Your child's upset with you in the store. They falling out on the floor. They talking back, whatever it is they're doing. You get to decide what story you make up in your head about the situation. And maybe before this, it didn't feel like you had a choice because it happened so quickly. But now you know that there is space between the behavior and the reaction. There's so much space. And you get to have a say in how your brain is interpreting the situation. So if I were you, or if I were in this situation, I would likely play with this and be like, okay, my child's upset. They falling out on the floor. They talking back. They saying shit about me behind my back because they mad at me. Okay, cool. Well, the meaning I'm going to start making in my head about this. Well, they're a child. I get they're upset. It's okay to be frustrated. I get frustrated too. It has no implication for me and my goodness as a parent right now. And my job is to help them through this frustration and anger that they're feeling. If that is the meaning I'm making, I imagine that my emotions will likely be slightly irritated, but manageable, because my emotions are not going to be combating or trying to respond with interpretations of me feeling like I suck or I'm a terrible mom or my child's being disrespectful. That's not what's happening. It's just my child is frustrated and they need some help working through that. And depending on the age or the developmental state of my child, I might either help them to co-regulate in the moment, or I might literally give them their space and their time to work through their feelings as we walk through the store. All the while knowing that this situation doesn't say anything about who I am or what I've done as a parent. Now you could see how this part is different now. Because remember, we've walked through how we get to change this. We change it through how we are telling ourselves the story in our head about what's happening. It's no longer this doom and gloom and all this disrespect and I suck. It's none of that no more. And it's, yeah, they frustrated. I get it. I would be frustrated too. Let's work through it. You still not getting nothing. Because, hey, boundaries, limit, structure, we're still not buying anything at the store. However, I can absolutely help you with your frustration. What, you need a hug? You want to talk about it? We can do all of that right here in the store. You still not buying nothing, and I still love you. You see how it's different? So now, once we go through all of that, I'm actually going to change this word. When you go through all the steps, you're not reacting anymore. You're actually responding. So now you respond. Reaction is something it's a reaction. It's reactionary. It doesn't have much thought or intention behind it, but a response is full of intention. And you're able to respond when you are conscious and aware of the meaning that is being made in your brain about the situation, and when you are aware of the emotions that it elicits. So your response is very different. And so likely when you're in the store and all that is happening and you've understood the meaning that's being made and you understand your feelings about it, your response is likely to just take a pause. Just stop in the store and just say, I know that's upsetting to you. I'm sorry that we won't be buying anything. What do you need so that we can move forward? Or however you say it, because all of this is unique and personal to everyone. But you now see that your reaction is going to be much different than your response. And I'm so proud of you for being able to do that. Let's go through one more scenario. The scenario of your child ignoring your request, remember? So you ask your child to do something, they're ignoring you for whatever reason. You have access to the meaning that your brain is making about this situation. So what are you going to tell yourself about it? Are you going to tell yourself that they're ignoring you because they don't respect you, because you're not a good mom, because they need a whooping? I hope it's not that. Please don't. What are you going to tell yourself? Or are you going to flip it and say, okay, there's something about this situation right now where my child needs some more enforcements. We gotta change this up to help them get this request. The emotions elicited from you are going to be different, and you are going to respond very differently. See how I almost said easy. Not easy, but you see how when you have access to things like meaning and awareness of your emotions, how things can change in your parenting. Again, I talk about this so much in my book. I also will be helping parents with this very process in my program, Becoming the Parent You Needed. I'll say more about that at the end. We start in September. But this is something that I want all parents that I support and work with to be able to do. Because no longer is the question, why do I get so triggered? Well, girl, we know why. Now we know it's because something happened. Your brain told you a story about it. You had feelings about it, and then you either reacted or you responded. That is why. And so to the question of how do I become less triggered by my child, or how do I stop the process of them pushing my buttons so much? Well, we don't do it by changing their behavior. The best way to do it is to know that when a behavior occurs, you have access to the meaning that you make about that behavior. You're going to have feelings about it that are connected to the meaning that you make. And then you get to respond differently based on this process that I can help you with in my program, Becoming the Parent You Needed, and also that I talk about extensively in my book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation. One more thing I want you to remember about this process before we close out for today, and it is that every body is so unique. Everybody's experience is so unique. Everyone's brain and interpretation is so variable. And so you may notice that you might have a different reaction or response to a behavior than other parents or your co-parent or your spouse. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It just means that we all have different ways of interpreting events in our lives based on our own past experiences, our own upbringing, our own traumas and healing processes, our own cultural backgrounds, our own socialization. Your process with this is deeply unique and personal. And it doesn't have to be the same as anyone else. Or if you have someone saying to you, you're overreacting, and you no. Yes, is it on you to manipulate and modify this process? Absolutely. But does it mean that you're overreacting? No. No. Your process is your process. Your feelings are always valid, but I want you to know that your feelings are responding to something that you have access to. So I hope that you got a lot out of this today. And what I want you to do is, one, if this helped you, I want you to share this episode with another friend that you know is going through a similar thing. Share it with them and say, hey, I need you to watch this, and then let's talk about it together, because this week I also want the both of you to think of a scenario that is happening in your parenting dynamic or relationship or with your child that you know this process occurs with, and how you're going to spread out this, make more space, and introduce these two things in the process. I want you to think about that. That's going to be your homework. I want you to reflect on, how do I make more space between the behavior and the reaction and turn it into a response, because I'm now aware of the meaning that is being made and the emotions that are being elicited. Let's talk about Becoming the Parent You Needed. Becoming the Parent You Needed is my 8-week program. We will begin in September of 2026. So we've got about a month to go. I'm so excited to help parents with this very process. Becoming the Parent You Needed is an 8-week virtual program for parents who know that they want to be the parent who is breaking generational cycles and shifting the way that parenting occurs in their family. They know they don't want to continue to repeat experiences that they've experienced, whether it's regarding discipline or harshness or any of that. They want to be emotionally available, emotionally present, and more importantly, parents who join Becoming the Parent You Needed are very aware of the fact that 20 years from now, they want their child to always be coming back, coming home. They want to have a continued, open, flowing, healthy relationship with their child. And they're so aware that if they don't get these things right today, when their child is 4, 5, 6, 11, 15, that reality for the future will become harder and harder and harder to grasp. Because I don't know about you, but I want my babies to be excited to come home. I want them to be like, I can't wait to talk to my mom. I want them to be like, oh shit, I made a mistake. I need to call my mom and not be afraid because of what I'm going to say or like they're going to be judged. I don't want them to feel like they have to shut down with me. I want them to know they always can be open. And these are the things we have to work on as parents if we want that reality with our children in the future. So if that is something that you are also wanting to, I hope that you'll join us. I have a link in the description of this episode with what you need to get started. The first step is to have a parent fit call with me so we can talk about your challenges as a parent and then you're fit for the program. And then I hope that I will see you in September. Otherwise, y'all, I enjoyed this episode today. I hope you got a lot out of it. Again, if you did, rate us. Make sure you're subscribed to the Dr. Amber Show. And again, don't forget, share it with your friend. Okay, I'll see y'all next week. Bye.